A year ago, I received a message from a family in Zimbabwe. They'd never invested in Dubai before, didn't know the market, and felt completely overwhelmed by the conflicting advice. Today, that same family is set to earn around $233,000 a year in pure passive income from 4 off-plan properties. I've spent 3 years helping overseas investors build profitable hands-off portfolios in Dubai, and results like this don't happen by accident. There are clear, predictable reasons why some succeed while most struggle. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how we achieved these results for them and how you can replicate their success even if you're completely new to investing in Dubai. So this family reached out to me after seeing my content online. They were new to Dubai's property market, had never bought here before, and were understandably cautious. But they also knew they wanted to move capital out of their home country and started to build something more secure for the future. They came to Dubai for a short visit and we spent a lot of time looking at a range of options. One of the key goals was speed. They didn't want to wait 3 to 4 years for a project to be completed, so we focused on developments with a much shorter time frame of 12 to 18 months to hand over. We eventually secured 2 strong units from a well-established developer, and once contracts were signed, they flew back home and left everything else to me and my team. We handled the full process from the paperwork, progress tracking, furnishing, and rental management. And around 12 months later, the apartments were handed over and almost rented immediately. Those 2 units now generate over $70,000 a year in passive income. That's from their very first deal. And after seeing the results, they decided to expand their portfolio, which led to us securing 2 more properties in a prime location near the marina, which will actually be handing over soon. And they're expecting to bring in $163,000 per year collectively. That means in just over a year, they've gone from a cautious first-time investor to owning a property portfolio projected to produce around $233,000 in annual rental income before expenses. But none of this happens by chance. There are very few specific things we did differently that made all of the difference. So let's break those down one by one. The first thing we did was determine the budget, of course. Like most overseas investors, this family was initially thinking of starting with something small and pretty cheap just to see how the market works and just so they can test the waters. Now I hear this all the time. Joe, let's just grab a $200,000, $300,000 property now and we'll build from there. And look, I get the logic. Less money down means less risk. But I've also seen how this story usually ends. You buy a cheaper entry-level unit and then the finish isn't great, the property isn't great, the rent's average, and the competition is high, and you're left wondering why you're not getting the kind of returns you were promised, or even the product you were promised. So instead, I advised them to take a more strategic route. Rather than spreading the capital across lower-end stock, they decided to commit a little bit more up front, which gave us that leverage, because now they were in a position to pay a higher amount of money up front, and the developer actually gave them a slightly better price. Now, not every developer does this, but occasionally some will offer a decent discount to buyers who can front more capital, which allowed us to negotiate a strong deal on 2 mid-market 2-bedroom apartments, both from top-tier developers and that were both scheduled for handover within the year. And the difference this made was huge. Combined, their 2 initial apartments alone started generating around $70,000 every single year. But beyond just the numbers, choosing quality from the start means fewer headaches down the line, better tenants, fewer vacancies, stronger demand, and properties that hold their value over time. So if you're serious about generating meaningful passive income in Dubai, resist the temptation to go for the cheapest entry point. Please just avoid that. It's better to purchase one premium property than multiple low-quality units. Look at developments from established Tier 1 developers in prime areas, even if it means investing more up front or buying fewer units to begin with. Your returns and your peace of mind will thank you later. And if you would like a simple process to make sure you are picking the right properties in the right budget and in the right areas, you can download our free Dubai property checklist in the description. Now, there's another big reason why this investment went so well, and it wasn't just about the property itself. See, when you're investing in off-plan properties in Dubai, nearly every broker has access to the same deals. The listings, the prices, the developers, all of that is pretty much identical. Yet somehow investors still end up bouncing around, talking to 5 or 6 different brokers, getting completely different stories about the same exact projects. I recently spoke with an investor who had contacted 8 different brokers before reaching out to me. Each broker had given him conflicting opinions on different projects. One broker would recommend project A, then another claim it was a terrible idea and push to project B instead. And what happens is a classic domino effect. When a broker learns that you've spoken to someone else about a specific project, the guard goes up immediately. They'll criticize that project to steer you towards something that they can sell you on instead, because of the fear of missing out. Eventually, this poor guy was so overwhelmed and confused, he ended up doing nothing at all. He just stalled. And this is exactly why the family from Zimbabwe made another smart move. Instead of chasing the deal, they chose someone who they can trust, one broker who could genuinely add value beyond just selling them a property. And because of that, they trusted me and my team from the start. And because they trusted me and my team from the start, we could deliver way more than a typical broker relationship. We didn't just sell them apartments. We fully furnished, fully remodeled those apartments remotely so that we could get premium tenants in, and I even helped them secure the golden visas for their entire family. That's the difference the right broker makes. It goes beyond the deal itself. So when you're investing in Dubai, don't just buy the deal, buy the broker. Find someone who isn't just pushing you to whatever's hot this week, but someone who can actually help you build a proper income producing portfolio from start to finish. Because in a market like Dubai, what you're really buying isn't a brochure, it's a relationship. Now here's the part most investors never think about, but it's what really sets the successful ones apart. They don't just build a property portfolio, they build a structure. Once the first 2 apartments were handed over and fully rented, the family could have stopped there, but they didn't. They saw what was possible, and they decided to reinvest. This time we helped them secure 2 more properties, like I said, near the Dubai Marina, an area with even greater potential for appreciation and rental demand. We were building something more powerful, a base, a long-term platform for wealth, residency and security. They've built a structure that they can scale, a system that protects their capital, grows their income, and gives their family options for the next decades. And this is the shift I want you to make as well. Stop thinking of Dubai as just a real estate market. Start thinking of it as a place to structure your long-term financial future, not just buy an apartment and hope it performs. And this brings me to probably the most important reason why this investment was such a success. You see, none of this would have worked if they hadn't done one last thing right. They trusted us. And I'm not talking about signing a contract and hoping it all works out. I'm talking about real trust. Trusting us to handle the process from start to finish without micromanaging every detail from thousands of miles away. This is where a lot of investors go wrong. They try to control every single detail. They're nervous, so they second guess every decision, demand constant updates, and they end up unintentionally slowing down or damaging the process and hesitating. But with the Zimbabwean family, things played out completely differently, because right from the beginning, they understood something crucial. If you've chosen the right broker and the right team, you don't need to micromanage. And I'll never forget something the son said to me recently. We were driving through Dubai and he asked, "Joe, what's the most enjoyable part of your job?" And I told him, it's this, being trusted to deliver. Right after, helping families that create something that lasts, and taking all of that stress out what could have easily become a painful and complicated process. So here's the final piece of advice that I'll leave you with. If you're investing from abroad, find someone who you genuinely trust, then let them do the job. Micromanaging from another country doesn't make the investment safer, it just makes it slower and more stressful, and you might hesitate and not do a deal. What made this work wasn't just a good property or a smart deal, it was trust, and that made all of the difference. And if you are looking for someone to replicate what I did for our client and invest in Dubai's off-plan market, you can either run through the process yourself using the checklist or book a call with me and my team using the links in the description. However, even with the right team and strategy, there's still one thing that can ruin it: buying the wrong property. So if you are serious about investing in Dubai, make sure you watch the next video where I break down the worst types of properties you can buy in Dubai in 2025.